Right, so today we're looking all about hip mobility and movement. So we're going to start with the very soles of the feet, start pressing down into the ground. And although we're talking about the hips, actually starting with the feet is a really good place to start. We're going to start by lifting the toes and then press the big toe into the ground. Press it down as hard as we can and then let the other toes come down. As we press the big toe into the ground, it's almost like a corkscrew action. So pressing down. As we do that, got the wrong trousers on, as Wallace would say, we're going to almost like a screwing the leg into the ground. As we do that, we start to feel maybe the knee starts to engage and turn out to the side. And if we follow that movement up into the legs, our hips and maybe even the glutes start to switch on. So even through the soles of the feet, we start to find that connection, almost like we're screwing down. In yoga, we call this rooting to rise. So find that connection. So rather than just kind of standing here, really, really engaging, feel that traveling into the knee and then through the knee into the hips. It's all connected. And then we start to find our center. So the crown of the head lifts, arms actively reaching down, scan into the shoulders, scan into the ribs, feel that connection, not just into the big toe, but traveling all the way up into, so I'm feeling this kind of right into the outer edge of the glutes, into the outer edge of the thighs. Sneaky yoga, lovely. And then we'll start to bring movement into the body. So again, see if we can keep that connection there as we bring the head to one side, chin to the chest as we roll through, and then rolling through to the other side. So just gently mobilizing into the neck. Really nice. And then from here, let's bring that right ear to the right shoulder. Start to feel the stretch across the left side of the neck. There's the option to press that left hand away. We might start to feel the stretch across the top of the arm. That's a neural stretch. And then chin to the chest as we roll left ear to left shoulder. And maybe the right arm reaches the way. It's not compulsory. None of it's compulsory. But maybe you want to explore that sensation across the top of the arm. And then chin to the chest. Let's bring one thumb onto one collarbone, one finger on top. Hand comes on top, and then reach the head back. Lovely. Chin comes to the chest. Oops. And then releasing the head back. Lovely. So we start to explore all these little ripple effects. Even as we press down into the big toe, we start to feel that connection into the hips. As we bring the chin to the chest, we might start to feel this between the shoulder blades. Our bodies are completely connected. We think about them as being these separate pieces, but they're all connected through fascia and through soft tissue and through nerves and the nervous system. So finding your connection here, just noticing where it travels to, get curious. Lovely. We're going to start to circle into the shoulders now. In one direction and then circling through into the other. Lovely, really nice. We can make this movement as big or as small as you like. So there's the option to bring the hands onto the shoulders. We can circle into the elbows. If we want to, we can lengthen the arms away. That's not a better version, just different. Just long lever, so we start to get a bigger stretch. But if we're feeling any discomfort into the body, then keeping the hands onto the shoulders can be a nice way to explore that movement there and contain it. Lovely. From here, we bring the arms out at shoulder height. Lovely. Plug the shoulders back into the body. Lovely. So rather than reaching away, nice. We're going to bring that right hand back in front of that right shoulder, and then the right arm can reach back. Lovely. See if we can keep the hips facing forward. So we're just concentrating this movement into that space between the shoulder blades. Left arm slides back. Maybe bring that left hip forward so that we know that we're not sending that movement into the hips. We're looking to isolate that movement just into the upper spine, into the thoracic spine, and particularly that space between the shoulder blades. Lovely, really nice. Let's do one more on the second side. Awesome. And then sliding away. Hands onto the ribs. Let's stick the ribs out and then scoot the ribs down. Lovely. And this is a bit of a funny one. So I personally have to bring my hands onto my ribs so I can make sure I'm moving there rather than sending that movement into the hips. Lovely. Let's make that movement travel out to the side. So we're just moving the rib cage from side to side. And you might start to feel this maybe into this space here. That's where a lot of the muscles into the lower back kind of hinge onto. If it's comfortable, we can start to circle, but really tuning in to the fact that this is just moving into the ribs and not into the hips. Hips stay where they are. Come to them in a moment. This is a space that we often don't really move that much. It's quite a good one to play around with. Lovely. Hands can come onto the hips now. Bringing attention to the hips. Stick the tailbone out. So we want to bend into the knees here and stick the tailbone down. Lovely. Channeling our inner, I guess this is like Mr. Bean. And you know what I mean. And we can let that movement travel out to the side. Bit of Shakira. Lovely. And then we can make a lovely blend between Mr. Bean and Shakira. Oh dear. I'm one of those moods today. Circling around in the other direction. And notice here, so for me, I can feel this into the outer edge of my hips. It kind of glides along the muscles there. Lovely. Let's bring the hands onto the knees, circle into the knees. And really what we're doing here, so circling into the knees, but we're starting to find that connection into the soles of the feet again. So circling around every little nook and cranny into the soles of the feet. Really nice. And then we're going to press down to rise, return back to our mountain pose. Big toe presses down. Feel that movement traveling into the knees. Again, almost like we're screwing into the ground. And feel that traveling up into the glutes. Lovely. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool, awesome. So breathing in, the arms lift. And exhaling, chin to the chest. Sorry, hands down, chin to the chest. Rolling down, bone by bone. Once we get to the bottom, we're going to roll all the way back up. Take your time. We'll do 2 more there. So working with the pace of your own breath, seeing if we can get the spine to move independently, rather than moving it as a block. Coming up and coming down. Lovely. Last time, we're going to make our way down to lying. Take your time to get there. So we lie down on the back, soles of the feet onto the floor. Hands interlace. And we'll find that movement is the back of the neck. So chin to the chest on the out breath. Inhaling, head back. Exhaling, shoulders stay down, chin to the chest. Lovely. So it's starting to stretch across the back of the neck in between the shoulder blades. Really nice, guys. It's lovely. And then from here, make this one your last one. No rush. And hands can come to wherever is comfortable. Soles of the feet step wide. Let's drop both knees to one side. Breathing in through center as both knees drop to the other side. So starting to feel this across the fronts of the thighs, into the lower back, into that whole spaghetti junction area, which is the hips, because that hinges onto the quads, into the hip flexors, into the lower back, into the glutes. So pretty much every big muscle in the body hinges onto this space here, which hugely affects how we feel in our body, depending on what's going on in the hips. Lovely. Once we've done the same amount on both sides, reaching away, legs straight, arms straight, right hand reaches away from the right foot, left hand reaches away from the left. Let's do 1 more on each side. Maybe notice that the hips shift in the center, and then hands onto the knees. So from here, take a breath in, and on the out breath, knees into the chest, feel the lower back pressing in. Inhaling, knees come away, lower back lifts. Lovely. So just find that gentle connection between the lower back and the knees and the breath. So knees in, breath out, breathing in, knees away, making space for the breath. Lovely. Same but different. So as the feet come down, we're going to inhale to arch into the lower back as if you want to slide a hand under. Exhaling to scoop the tailbone down. Lovely. Breathing into arch. Exhale to flatten. Lovely. Last one. Breathing in. Exhaling. Same but different. Breathing into arch. Exhaling to flatten, and then press into the feet as we press the spine away. Lovely. Seeing if we can lift up the spine in order and then place the spine down in order. So we start to find that ripple through the spine. Our spine is capable of moving independently, but we just don't often do it. So then things get stuck. We start to lift things as a block, wedging into the lower back or the mid back or into the neck. Let's see if we can get that spinal articulation, that kind of wave into the spine and into the breath. Lovely. From here, knees into the chest. We can rock side to side. We can bring the hands behind the thighs. We're going to make our way up to seated. We can do that by rolling to the side or rock and rolling. Lovely. Take your time. This is all part of it, not a means to the end. It is a means in itself. Lovely. And if you're ever feeling really stiff, it's a really good thing. You know, probably not in the office, might be frowned upon, but you know, lovely. So the feet can come down. Really nice, guys. I'm going to breathe in to lift, and we're pressing down. So again, just in the same way that we're rooting down into the ground at the beginning, doing the same in the sit bones, so we find space. Lovely. And then we're going to twist the ribs, and then the hands come down. And then moving through to the other side. Ribs turn, hands come down. Lovely. Let's do a few more. Find that space through the spine. Not just into the shoulders. Really nice. Let's let the left hand come down, right arm lifts. And rather than reaching over, compressing, press down into that bottom arm to open up the right ribs. We'll do the same on the other side. And this again, so if you're feeling really tired, side stretches. There's a reason why when we're tired and we yawn, our body naturally wants to come into this sort of shape. It's really energizing space. We can send a breath into the lower lobes of the lungs. Don't try and say that too quickly. We'll bring the hands down, spread the fingers wide. Lovely. Full octave on the piano or an enormous handful of popcorn, whichever's going to motivate you the most. And then we press down into the fingertips. So exactly the same as we were doing with the big toe. Press into the fingertips. Feel how the underneath of the palm almost starts to kind of sucker up. And that then strengthens and stabilizes into the wrist. Our bodies are absolutely incredible. So let's start to work with them rather than against them. And then we can start to circle around, giving the wrist a little bit of love. So really active through the palms here. Nice. Coming to stillness, we're going to lift tailbone only, tiny movement, and then scoot the tailbone down, tiny movement. So we're not looking to do cat-cow, we're just going to sag through the middle. Tailbone lifts, tiny tuck. Lovely, really nice. And then we let that movement travel. So the tailbone lifts, the belly drops through, the heart comes through between the hands and we gaze forwards. And then that little ripple back, so scoot the tailbone down. Again, see if we can move the spine in order, rather than just dropping through the center of the shoulders and the hips. We get that snake action, rippling forwards, rippling back. Lovely, really nice, guys. Connect that movement with the pace of your own breath. From here, sit bones to the heels, elbows to the knees. We're going to press between the shoulder blades, head drops down, and then bring the head back to neutral as we squeeze the shoulder blades together. So we're rounding into the back, into the thoracic spine, into the rib cage, and then squeezing to extend. But noticing if the neck wants to kind of take that movement. So keeping the head fairly neutral rather than jutting the chin out, just because we can't get any further. Lovely. Let's bring both hands to the right. Find a side reach. And then both hands can come to the left as we find a side reach. So again, this is that side stretch, it's that energizing shape. So if you're feeling really tired, it's going to be a really good little waker-upper. Energizer is probably a better word. Waker-upper, honestly. Hands down, tuck the toes under, bring the knees to a hover. From here, we're going to press back. So that's our downward facing dog. Rather than kind of trying to get the heels down, but keeping the weight forwards. Length through the spine, let's bend the knees. We can pedal through, we can walk the dog. Apologies to anyone that's got dogs whose ears are now pricking up. We can step, walk, jump to the top of the mat, rise with a flat back. On the out breath, we fold. Press down into the feet again, big toes rooting down so the legs start to activate. Lovely. And hands by the side. Let's carry on there, breathing in, press down into the toes. Length through the whole of the body, hands down as we fold, soft knees. Breathing in, halfway lift, hands down, feet back, find your plank. Option to have the knees down here. And then to lower, we'll bring the knees down and the heart can come down between the hands. Lifting the heart away on the hands. Hands under the shoulders, press back. Again, see if we can get length through the spine first. So almost coming into child's pose, tuck the toes under, and then we lift into downward dog. So we're getting length through the spine rather than trying to force the heels down. We can shake the head no, we can nod the head yes. Really nice. Again, pressing into the pads of the fingers. Feel that movement travel into the sides of the ribs. Same chain reaction in the arms. And we're going to step, walk, jump to the top of the mat. Rise with a flat back. On the out breath, we fold. Press down into the big toe to lift. Hands above the head. And hands by the side. Lovely. Let's carry on there. Breathing in. And breathing out to fold. Inhale, lift halfway, flat back. Hands down, feet back. Find plank. Choose whether you want to lower the knees down or with the knees lifted. Neither is better. And we can lift the arms away. We open up the heart. Lovely. Hands under the shoulders, press back. Again, almost into child's pose. Tuck the toes under, and then we lift. So we start to get length through the spine. Pressing into the pads of the fingers. Start to feel, it's almost as if the palms start to lift away, because we've got strength through the fingers, into the wrists. Lovely. We can step walk, jump to the top of the mat, rise with a flat back. On the out breath, we fold. Press down into the big toes to feel that connection through the legs. Lovely. Hands by the side. Bend into the knees, finding chair. Notice if we're starting to stick the tailbone out, we'll scoop it down. And hands can come into the chest. We're going to tap to one side. Breathe in through center as we tap to the other. We can do the same again, or maybe this time we open up the wingspan. Lovely. And then this time, both hands down. Let's bring that left foot back, left knee down. Right arm lifts. Both hands down, left arm lifts. Lovely. One more on each side. Really nice, guys. Both hands down, stepping back into plank. Really nice. Lower with the knees down, or the knees lifted. Find your back bend. Option to let the legs start to float away, perhaps. Hands under the shoulders, meeting in downward dog. Right leg lifts. Right foot to the top of the mat. And we rise. From here, lift the back knee. As we lift the back knee, we might start to feel that back glute engage. And we can bend that front knee. Lovely. So really active here. We start to feel the left thigh, left glute waking up. Hands to the shoulders. Let's twist to one side. Breathe in through center as we twist through the other. And then hands onto the hips. Let's side reach. Lovely. Side reach to the other side. Really nice. Hands can come down. Let's step back into plank. Lower as you wish, knees down or knees lifted. Mind your back bend, maybe the legs lift. Hands under the shoulders, pressing back into downward facing dog. We can shake the head no, nod the head yes. Or we can be still. Stepping, walking, jumping to the top of the mat, rise with a flat back. On the out breath, we fold. Bend into the knees, finding chair. Lovely. Again, notice the tailbone. See if we can find our midway point. Hands into the chest. Let's tap to one side. Breathing in through center as we tap to the other. Same option. Maybe we tap or maybe we open up the arms. You choose. Lovely. This time, both hands down. Right foot back. Right knee down. Left arm lifts. Both hands down. Right arm lifts. Lovely. So you start to move side to side. And see if we can move navel upwards rather than hips starting to move to the sides here. We're looking for spinal rotation. Lovely. Hands under the shoulders. Let's step back into plank. Choose how you want to lower, knees down or knees lifted. Find your back bend. See if we can keep the head relatively neutral so we're not kind of jutting the chin out. Hands under the shoulders, press back into downward dog. From here, left leg lifts. Left foot to the top of the mat. And we root down again, press into that big toe. Feel how the knee, rather than dropping in, which it sometimes can do, starts to come out to the side. And then the left glute starts to wake up. Let's wake up the right glute by lifting the right knee this time. Lovely. So feel this across the front of the hip flexor. We can ease down. So pressing into the big toe, to get the left glute waking up, back knee to get the right glute. Hands to the shoulders. Let's switch around to one side and to the other. And find that sideways reach. Really nice, guys. Both hands down. Step back into plank. Lower as you wish. Find your back bend. Press back into downward facing dog. And we breathe. We can send the breath into the back of the ribs, breathing in fully. And then exhaling. Maybe sigh the breath out. Maybe one more like that. Breathing in fully. Exhaling. Lovely. Let's step, walk, jump the feet to the top of the mat. Rise with a flat back. And on the out breath, we fold. Bend into the knees, finding chair. Nice. And then slowly rising. Let's articulate through the spine again. So bring the chin to the chest, roll down, bone by bone. Take your time to get there. Knees can be soft. Maybe a little shimmy side to side. That can help us to identify if we're leaning to one side rather than the other. And then we'll make our way down to lying on our side. So from here, we want to be neutral, so neutral spine. So if I was standing up, I would not be standing up like this, bringing my weight into my side of my hip. So exactly the same when we're lying down, we're not just kind of dropping all the weight through here. So we're going to find a little bit of a lift. We want to have either the arm out straight, or if it feels more comfortable to support the head, then go for it. In my body, it feels better to have the arms straight, so that doesn't make it better, just the conversation in my own body. Bring the attention to the toes, gaze down towards the toes. Can you see the toes? If you can, you're probably making a bit of a banana shape with the body. So we're going to bring the feet back a little bit so that we can't see them. Perfect. So we should have a relatively straight line with a little bit of a lift under the waist. Let's find that breath that we use for stabilizing here. We're going to breathe in to soften the belly. And exhaling. Force, slamming on the abdominal wall. So we start to get that core sitting action into the muscles around the waist, the transverse abdominals. We'll breathe in to soften. And exhaling. Really forcing the breath out. Lovely. Now, even while I'm finding that contraction, I can still breathe. So checking in that you're still breathing here. And then we're going to bring a bend into the knees, keeping that contraction around the midline. Lift the top knee and then lowering it down. Let's do a couple more there. And for a moment, so notice what happens. We're not looking to come back as far as we can. Let's explore that. Come back as far as you can. Notice how the weight starts to shift back. Maybe we start to lose that connection into the sides of the waist. We're not looking for that. Sometimes it's helpful to explore the opposite so we can feel our way through it with lifting the top knee, quite a small movement. So it's really, really targeted into the muscles that help to support the outer edge of the hips and stop us from channeling our inner teenager. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. So from here, we're going to straighten that bottom leg out. Maybe the hand comes in front, and we're going to carry on with that same movement with the top of the leg. Quite a small movement, again, not coming as big as we can. Checking in with the underwaist, checking in with the contraction around the center. So we can test that by pressing into that space between the ribs and the hips. Is that activated still? Lovely. Oh, so starting to feel this into the outside edge of the glutes here. And then from here, we can straighten that top leg. And we're going to lift the top leg up. Again, explore the opposite. What happens when we lift the leg as high as we can? We start to lose the waist, don't we? And then maybe roll back. That's not what we're looking for. So find those signals in your own body. Lift the waist away, tiny movement. It's all about concentrating it as much as we can. Lovely. Really controlled, really targeted. So we should be starting to feel this. The outer edge of the hip is probably saying a louder hello to us right now. So we can start to say a louder hello back. Hello, nice to see you. And then we can start to circle. Now in my own body, whenever I start to circle, my hips and my ribs go, yeah, I got this. And start to kind of do a little bit of a Mexican wave. We're not looking for a Mexican wave. So the idea is we keep everything fixed around the center So that as we're moving here, we are strengthening and stabilizing into these tiny, sneaky little muscles into the outer edge of the hip. These are the muscles that help us when we get tired. So this is what I mean by teenagers. When we do this, doing this when we get tired, these are the muscles that we naturally start to, then they stop stabilizing us when we get tired. That also affects us when we're running. When we get tired and we start to dump the weight through the outside edge of the hips. So these are the exact muscles that we're starting to target here. Lovely. Without any of the ribs, the hips starting to join in. Really nice. We're going to roll to lying on the other side. So I'm going to do my yogi break dance. Very dignified. Lovely. So we can have the arm out straight. Might feel different on this side. Feel your way into it. Maybe support the head. Find that lift with the idea of the ribs coming away rather than just kind of collapsing the weight through. And then check in with the toes. Have they snuck forwards? Are we making a banana with the body? See if we can bring the feet in line. Lovely. And then breathe in to soften. Exhale. Lovely. One more there. Awesome. Bend the knees. Lift the top knee. And then slowly lower. So those of you guys that do Pilates, this will be a very familiar space to Pilates. All about strengthening, stabilizing. So in yoga, we often do these very big, expansive movements into the body. But to be able to do those effectively, we need to have the strength underlying to be able to support that. So that we're moving much more functionally and firing up into the muscles that we need to be. So this is why we always include some stabilizing in sports yoga or functional yoga. We're going to straighten the bottom leg. Keep the top knee where it is. Tiny movement up and down. Lovely. Checking in. Am I still engaged around the center? If you're not, that's no problem. We can breathe in to soften. Exhale. Slam on the abdominal wall again. Lovely. This time top leg lengthens. Let's find that tiny little lift. Really nice. Keeping everything stable around the center. And then we'll start to make little circles. So really tuning in. I know that in my own body, I'm challenged by this. So, and if it helps to bring your hands onto the space where you're trying to be still, then go for it. Sometimes, so it's the idea of proprioception, our concept of where our body is in space. Yoga, I have found, for me, has really helped me to understand where my body is in space. I get much more body awareness, but still sometimes the sense of touch can be really helpful to bring that awareness. Really nice. Oh, hello out to hips, how you doing? Lovely. So from here, soles of the feet can come onto the ground, knees into the chest, we can rock and roll. Lovely. And we're going to make our way up to maybe to standing, perhaps. Let's see. So we can bring the hands behind the thighs, we can rock and roll, and maybe we can find our way to a little bit of a balance at the top. Maybe. Awesome. Perhaps we can stand up. Maybe. Awesome. It's good to play around sometimes. Yogi playtime. So from here, we're going to bring that right foot. Awesome. Really nice, guys. Right foot can come behind. We're going to frame the left knee. One hand above, one hand below. Bend the knee forwards and then sliding back. Coming forwards, sliding back. So you might start to notice a bit of a conversation into the back of the thigh here. This is a more into the lower part of the hamstring. We'll come to the top part of the hamstring in a moment. And then we can straighten the knee as much as is comfortable. See if we can draw that right hip down rather than letting the hip come out to the side. Lovely. And then we're going to turn the attention to the lower back. Tiny movement, same as the beginning. Tailbone lifts, scoop down, tiny, tiny. So here we're starting to have a conversation with the upper part of the hamstring, the part that connects into the pelvis. So you might start to feel this higher up, either into the glute or into the or into the upper part of the thigh. And then we can pause wherever is comfortable. So we should never feel pain here. Pain is a very good and helpful signal from the body. So just finding your edge, wherever that is. And we can breathe. Send the breath to the brain, that then sends a signal to the muscles, the soft tissue. It's okay, it's just yoga. You can chill out. Lovely. And then slowly releasing. Really nice. We're going to step back foot wider. And then come to a forward fold. Toes slightly in, heels slightly out. And we want to have the spine in a straight, relatively straight line. So rather than coming down as far as we can, hands probably under the face. Let's see if I can bring the weight into the balls of the feet. Again, press into the big toe. Tiny movement, but we might start to feel that into the back of the hamstrings, rather than if we're further back, we kind of switches the hamstrings off. Lovely. We can bring the left hand under the face, right hand to the lower back. Or if we can keep the hips facing down and the hips level, maybe the right arm lifts. But that won't happen for everyone, so find where your own body is. Right hand down, either to the lower back or left arm lifts. Lovely. Really nice. One more on each side. And that spinal rotation. And then from here, heels in, knees bend. Breathing into lift, straighten the legs. On the out breath, bend into the knees. Lovely. Breathing in to lift up. Exhaling down. Nice. Last one. And then bring both hands over to the left knee. Right toes can point up. Let's use that left hand to open up into the knee. Right arm lifts. And then scooping forwards. Breathing in to open up. Exhaling down. Lovely. Some of us will have that bottom heel down. Some of us will have the bottom heel lifted. That's about how the bones hang together in the hips. So don't worry about where that gets to. Lovely. Now we're going to shift over to the other side. So we're going to come side to side. See if we can keep that straight leg, toes active, moving through from one side to the other. Really nice. Next time we come over to the left knee down. Lovely. And turn the toes down to the ground. Press down into the outer edge of that foot so we start to feel the inner thigh engage. We're going to bring the hands forwards and then back. So from side view, we're coming forwards and back, forwards and back. Lovely. And then next time that we come back, we're going to tune into the inner thigh. So we're going to lift the toes of the straight leg up and then turn the toes down. Lovely. So start to glide onto the hamstring and then into the inner thigh here. Really nice. From here, we bring hands down, bring that left knee behind the wrist as the right leg lengthens out. Really nice. We're going to bring the weight into the left sit bone. So shift the hips to the side, and then that right leg is going to travel all the way around and then straightening out behind us. Nice. So moving between our pigeon and our seated twist. Nice range of movement the whole way through the right hip here. Lovely, really nice. Next time that we come to sit up, no rush. The right foot crosses over. Let's straighten that left leg out. We can get both sit bones down so we're not kind of over to the side. Breathe in to lengthen up. And we're going to twist so the left arm comes around that front knee. Left foot stays active, so the front toes are active. And see if you can press down into the ground again, root to rise. Press the sit bones into the ground, get length, and then we get a little bit more space. Breathing in to lengthen, exhaling a little bit more space. Lovely. And then slowly, slowly, we can unravel. Take your time. Head, shoulders, chest and knee, not the knees, the ribs. I'm trying to do head, shoulders, knees and toes then. That's never going to work. Let's bring both feet back. Step back into downward dog. We can shake the head no, not the head yes. Really nice. And then this time, stepping the left foot forwards. Bring that right foot in a little bit. So you can get both heels down. Come up to standing. Frame that left knee. So we're going to move forwards and back. And forwards and back. And forwards. And back. Lovely. Slowly pressing back up to the center. Right foot down, left foot back. Let's frame that right knee. Come forwards and back. So exactly the same. We're just doing the other side this time. So we're not walking in circles. So find your way through this movement. It's starting to glide. Conversation. This is where we're going, body. Work with me. Lovely. Next time that we straighten the leg, we're not kind of locking it out, not trying to force anything. Find a comfortable place where you can stop. And then we'll bring the attention into the lower back. Lift tailbone, scoot tailbone down. Tiny, tiny movement. So you might start to feel this further up the top of the muscle, maybe into the glutes themselves. Lovely. Or maybe it travels the whole way along that muscle. Conversation with the hamstrings. Notice what's happening to the left hip, see if we can keep the hips level. And then we pause at a comfortable point. Really nice. Let's lift the left leg. Lovely. And come into a forward fold. On the other side, hands down. Toes slightly in, heels slightly out. See if we can bring the weight into the balls of the feet rather than the heels. Really nice. We can find that spinal rotation, hands to the lower back, or maybe the arm lifts. See if we can keep the hips level. Lovely, guys. Really nice. This time, bending into the right knee. Bring the weight over to the right knee. Use the right hand to encourage that right knee open, and we can lift up. And then scooping forwards. Breathing in to open. Exhaling down. Lovely. Last one. Really nice. Let's travel between those two spaces. Good morning, hips. How you doing? Good morning, thighs. Good morning, inner thigh. Good morning, hamstring. And then this time we come over to the right knee down. We can sit the weight back and forwards. Outer edge of the left foot down this time. So starting to glide onto that space, into the inner left thigh. Lovely. This time as we sit back, toes lift, turning down, lifting up. Lovely. So find this gliding into the hamstring and into the inner thigh. Nice. Let's bring both hands down, right knee behind the right wrist, left foot back. And then from here, we're going to bring that left leg. So bring the right sit bone down, left leg travels through, and then easing back round. So moving between pigeon and our seated twist. Really nice. So if you guys are walking around like crabs for the rest of the day, then you know you've got good hip mobility. Lovely. Next time that we come to seated, left knee comes down. Let's straighten that bottom leg out. Get both sit bones down. And we're going to breathe in. So front leg's active, root down to lift, turn the ribs, and then the hands come down. Lovely. Pressing away through that big toe. Lovely. Maybe use that back hand like a lever to find a little bit more space. Awesome. One more breath here. And then slowly unraveling. We're going to make our way down to lying. We're going to press save on everything that we've just done. So we might want to get some layers on. We might want to create our very own little Zen den from the comfort of our home. Turn the lights. Put on Enya. Whatever helps you to find a state of relaxation. It's probably not wine just yet. But, you know, there are some people that do yoga and wine. So recovery is where we encourage the body away from a stress response that we live in a lot of the time, day to day, without even realizing it. We encourage the body away from that state and into the state of rest and digest, which is the opposite. So it's where repair happens, where change happens on a cellular level within the body. So we can literally start to absorb everything that we've just done. And we can do that through the breath. So we can close the eyes or soften the gaze. Maybe start to lengthen the out breath. So it's just a tiny bit longer than the in breath. The in breath is associated with the stress response, increased heart rate, increased blood pressure. The out breath is with the opposite, slowing everything down, calming the nervous system down. So lengthening the out breath helps to encourage us into that state. And for the guys on demand, you can stay here as long as you like.